here. I'm here with the first kind of product review of the channel. And just kind of finally had time to get around to everything to start doing some reviews on my ski stuff. Also, I'm going to be doing stuff on all my bike stuff too. That'll be coming. I didn't bring my bike with me, so I'll be coming here in a couple weeks whenever I have time to do those. But first, I'm going to do my old pair of skis. Well, not old, but last year's pair of skis that I'm still using for this year, my powder skis. And yeah, so I'm just going to kind of go through them, go through my setup, what I like about them, what I don't like about them, how they ski, what I think they're good for, what they're not so great for. Yeah, so let's jump into it. Alright, so as you guys can probably see here, these are my skis. They are the 2016 Salomon rocker2 122s. And I got these last year. I got pretty good deal on them, a really good pro deal on them. Wanted some kind of bigger powder, big mountain, just the biggest skis I could find, something that's kind of ridiculously overly wide and way more than I actually need for just everyday skiing on resorts. With the measurements here, I don't know exactly how wide the tips. I think the tips are 130 something, tails are 120 something, but I know underfoot they're 122, hence the name, the rocker2 122. Salomon designates their series by the waist numbers. So this is the biggest line. This is the biggest ski in the line. The rocker2, as everyone probably knows, discontinued this year, replaced with the QSTs, which I did get a pair of. I got the 99s. I'll do a review on those later. I want to actually ski on them. But yeah, I've got some time on these guys. Spent a whole season on them. Tons of different conditions. Skied everywhere. Gotten to know these skis pretty well. So let's see. First thing you'll notice is that they have this. I don't know if you can see. It's kind of cloudy out. But something that Salomon actually came up with, and a lot of companies have kind of followed suit and copied, is this air tip technology, where there's no actual core material in the tip or the tail on the rocker2s. On the rocker2 on the 122s here, you can see it better from the underside. Is the gap of the edges here, where there's no edge. That's essentially where the air tip is. So from about here on is all just honeycombed material with the P-Tex and the top sheet weight over it, which is great. It cuts down weight on skis. These are big. They're 184s, 120 foot. They're big skis. Cuts down on weight just overall. It cuts down a lot on the swing weight too, because these skis kind of have a big shovel. Kind of, they're pretty tapered. So there's a lot of mass out at the ends. So it's very noticeable. Coming off of my skis before this were the Armada JJs, which are slightly narrower but very similar in design, of way that the kind of a big shovel in the front, tapered also in the back too. These are noticeably easier to swing, even though they are bigger, wider. They weigh less. Skis like this with rocker, ever since rockers come out, there's been the problem of the chatter on hard pack, where I see where sometimes it gets so bad as they skip around. This cuts down on it a little bit, doesn't totally eliminate it, but it does help a lot. And that's on a ski like this. It's very noticeable when you're on hard pack days. Or side cut of the skis, I do kind of like it. The JJs are the Armadas that I had before these they're known to be, they have very, very tiny turning radius, which is great for trees. I like tree skiing. They're some of the best skis I've ever had for tree skiing. And these kind of have a slightly longer radius. I believe it's 26 meters opposed to the JJ's 17. I think the new ones are. Oop, starting to rain. Snow, maybe. It's snowing up there. Has a little bit more hold for kind of doing bigger, chargier lines. But with the shovel and the kind of shorter actual effective edge of the ski in most conditions, except super deep powder, it is quick enough to be fun in the trees and kind of sharp and knifey a little bit. The edges and the P-Tex on these, interesting story. The edges are pretty good. They're decent. I mean, most edges on skis these days are pretty good. I was concerned about having them not be fully edge skis, but the amount of rocker on these skis, it ended up not really mattering too much. They're just fine. The P-Tex, though, is a very different story, and there's a reason I chose the right ski to have upside down, and that is because of this right here. And that was a core shot. Very nasty. They had to totally scrape it out all around and re-P-Tex it. They get scratched easy, these skis, in one season. They've gotten a lot of scratches. Their P-Tex is not as good. My 2 skis before this were RMUs and Armadas, which both are kind of known for having some of the better P-Techs out there. Some of the stronger, but it's still pretty fast. This is not nearly as strong. It's just as fast, I think. But it's noticeably more like susceptible to scratches and core shots, and it gets beat up a little bit easier. So that's kind of something. They're not super durable, but if you're smart and you avoid landing on rocks or dirt patches or hitting stumps in the trees or whatever, you'll be fine. It's just they do scratch kind of easy. Sidewalls are okay. I have had to fix them a few times. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so on the back of one of these, it's ground off now, but I did have to glue it back down. The P-Tech's got hit a rock and it split off. P-Tech split off in the back of the tail. And then this was kind of, I mean, I did something kind of stupid to have this, but I was just kind of clacking my skis very gently on a cold day on the lift, and the edge of this ski clacked and hit here and split it pretty bad. I just took some epoxy and put it in there a couple times. I think I did 3 coats on it just to keep it watertight, keep water off of the core, off of the wood, and just to kind of keep some of the strength there. But yeah, overall these are good skis. I like them for powder skis. Obviously they're not good all-rounders. That's why I bought the new QST 99s this year, because those are much better kind of hard pack everyday ski. These are just going to be for like taking out on fun days where I just want to mess around, or super deep days this year. So that's kind of nice to have 2 skis now. Can you really actually use these, what they're made for? I was kind of asking a lot of them last year, having these be my only everyday ski. But, you know, I was asking them to do what they're not made to do. But for what they're made to do, they're very good for skiing. Kind of deep trees, deep kind of bigger open lines, they're very good. Their flotation's kind of weird. It took some getting used to coming off of the Armadas. The Armadas float so easily because they kind of have their tips come up. These are this has a much more subtle rocker profile to it. So the tip doesn't come up quite as much. So it does float kind of weird. You have to kind of work it up to pop it up and get it to plane up on the snow. But once you get a good plane going and keep the speed, you don't have to worry about it at all. It keeps it up. But just getting up that first time is a little harder than some other skis. Speaking of rocker, the profile of these skis that's one of the reasons I went with these skis over the old Salomon Quest series, is that I really like skis that have 50% rocker, 50% camber. So it's camber underfoot and then rocker at each end, and I just like that because to me it feels more balanced. It feels like the ski, obviously, I just like having the skis more balanced like that. I like the kind of feel of there's the same amount of kind of support in the back and on some skis that have tip rocker and camber all the way back. Sometimes they can feel a little like the tails are holding too much, and I don't like that personally. I kind of being able to snap the tails off moves pretty easily. It's raining pretty hard, so we're gonna go inside now. Okay, sorry about that. It started the storm rolling in Colorado here. It started kind of half raining, half snowing, which is good because that means moisture. That means snow up in the mountains. So we had to come inside. So I get a little cold out and have a jacket. So I'm inside now. We're gonna finish up in here. That's Retta. Hi, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're in the video. Huh? Oh, Rhett, you're in the shot. You gotta get... Oh, she's smiling. Come on. Every video needs a dog shot. It's kind of an odd rocker profile, though. And obviously, the bindings kind of interfere with this a lot. But, so if we see here, we start at the tips. The amount of rocker on these skis isn't actually noticeable when there's no weight on them, when you're not clipped in. And it looks like they have a ton of camber. Same thing back with the tails here. But then, so if you squeeze them together, and if there's actual weight on them, then you can notice the actual true effective rocker profile of the ski when you're clipped into them, when there's people on them. So it's a little bit more. You can see how the rocker starts about here, Julie, and then goes out. Okay, now onto the bindings. The bindings here, I went with Salomon. I'd always been on markers before. I went with Salomon, I got last year, and this year I got a deal on Salomon's. So last year I got the bindings. So I got the wardens. And the reason I got the wardens was because when I switched to markers and I went to the horizontal toe piece when the spring is actually horizontal opposed to vertical, I liked it a lot. I thought it was much better. I liked this shorter binding. I thought it felt better. Coming off the marker griffins, I like these much better. The Warden 13s, 13 din is fine. I don't need more than 13 din. Anyone says you do is kind of full of themselves. I mean, I only run mine at 8.5, 9, and that's fine for me. That's fine. I like my skis popping off. Good for your. They pop off at 9 for my weight, about 175, 180. Probably a good thing. Save my knees. I'd rather hike and get my ski instead of blow my knee out. So I've only popped out of these a few times, and when I did, it was a good thing that I did pop out. But yeah, the one thing I noticed about the Salomons, at least the I've never skied any other Salomons, but the Wardens compared to the marker griffins is, and I haven't skied any, the Jesters or the Jester Pro, so I don't know how the higher din new markers feel, but compared to the old ones, I think I have the last generation of them. These are much more secure. The markers, found that since they have the heel piece with the spring in the piece, there's a weird kind of amount of float to where if you're gonna pop out, there's a weird part where it kind of lets you out, but it still has you. So it's a weird kind of float. It feels a lot like the thing you can relate it to is back to biking with pedal float, how you can adjust that to how much your heel can move around before you unquick. These are much more, it's either you're in or you're out. Like there's no none of that weird float. You're in and then it pops you out. There's no kind of weird where in the markers it's kind of like it has you, then quicks you out. These it's you're in or you're quicked out, which is nice. I like it better. It's a much more predictable and solid feel. So these yellow things are pretty cool on Salomon bindings. It's like a little rubber piece of pretty kind of high density rubber that goes in between the actual top sheet and parts of the binding. What that does is it kind of acts as like a little dampener, just to take the harsher of the like super chattery, kind of jittery vibrations out. And it's noticeable, I think, especially with skis like these on ice. They skip around a lot, and it helps. I think it helps. I don't know if that's just the ski being kind of springy too, or if these are helping. But I like it. I think it's kind of a cool idea. I mean, even if it works just a tiny bit, why not, right? If it takes a little bit of those vibrations out. But yeah, so expect some cool videos coming from these. I will do probably a first look video at the QST 99s here pretty soon. So thanks for checking out these skis and bindings, and have a good one.